Yo, what is up guys, and welcome back to McAD's Entertainment. I'm your host as always, Adam McGahee. We are back with another terrifying tale from the pages of Marvel Zombies. In our last video of this series, we went through Chapter 1 of this iconic saga. I will have that video link in the title card and the description below. For today, we'll be going through the entirety of the grotesque follow-up to this legend, and that will be Chapter 2. The story is a gory one, so without further ado, crack open the Cheez-Its, sit back, relax, and enjoy Chapter 2 of Marvel Zombies. The next part of the tale opens up with our galactic-powered zombie heroes making their way to the Skrull homeworld. Not knowing exactly what they were dealing with, the Skrull army opened fire on the heroes, but as you can expect, they were no match and began to be ruthlessly slaughtered and devoured by the starving savages. They would show no mercy whatsoever, as we even see the likes of Zombie Spider-Man find a terrified Skrull mother and child hiding under a bed. Not only would he eat the pair, but he would also mock their terrible hiding space, all while sporting a crazed devilish grin. This full-on planetary genocide would actually find its way to the main Marvel Earth Black Panther, who had been teleported here with his wife Storm and fellow Fantastic Four members Human Torch and Thing. The group had been taken to this dimension after coming in contact with some mystical multiverse frogs, and were quite surprised at the hell they had stumbled into. After escaping the likes of zombie Luke Cage, T'Challa worked with some of the remaining Skrulls to send a transmission to this Earth, which put him into contact with his variant, as we know from Chapter 1, was still alive and had begun rebuilding what was left of humanity. After having to neutralize some super zombie Skrulls of their own, Panther and the others' days only got worse, as they were then attacked by the zombie supers, who planned to use the mystic frogs to get to other worlds and start their feast anew. However, the Panther gods were in T'Challa's favor, for right at the last second, they were able to use the frogs to teleport back to Earth 616 before they could get turned into zombie chow. Aggravated they had picked the planet clean and lost their one-way ticket to the multiverse, the zombies wondered just what to do next. That is, until a stroke of brilliance hit Zombie Hulk's pea-sized brain, where he told the group that he was so hungry he could eat the entire planet. That then jogged the shambling lad's memories that since they now had Galactus' powers, they could actually do just that. The boys then powered up like zombie Super Saiyans, and then used these abilities to straight up devour the planet, which they claimed was absolutely delicious. For the next 40 years, the zombies then continued this non-stop planetary devastation, that is until they eventually reached the edge of reality and discovered they had killed and eaten almost all of existence. Along the way, our boys even picked up some new zombie friends, which consisted of the likes of Gladiator, Jean Grey powered by the Phoenix Force, and even a zombie Thanos. Now, as imposing as a zombie Thanos sounds though, our purple brother would not last too long, for he got his head cheeks clapped in by Zombie Hulk after he made fun of him for eating all the food. Rest in peace, Grimace. Devastated to think they may spend the end of time starving, the zombies wondered what to do next, until Iron Man's memories began to come back as he remembered the multiverse teleporter he had constructed back when he was alive. Further elaborating that Reed Richards had fixed the machine and used it to escape this reality, Zombie Giant Man told the group that they needed to go back to Earth, as it was the only way to get the machine back so they could access the cosmic buffet. During their travels, we start to see a different, calmer side of Spider-Man, who told Luke Cage that he was feeling odd and that it felt like his hunger was actually starting to fade. Coming back to Earth, we see a young boy navigating the streets of what used to be New York City. During his travels, he hears what appears to be a scream coming from beneath a pile of rocks. Thinking that someone was in trouble, he came to the person's aid, only to be met with a rather horrifying sight, which was the severed, but still sentient head of zombie Hawkeye that was cut off by Magneto all those years ago. Having lost his hunger and reverted back to a near childlike state, the head asked for the boy to help him and to get him out of there. We then discover that this boy is actually the grandson of the still living Black Panther, who was wise to the acts of these zombies and knew not to trust him. Promising he would not eat the boy or bite anyone, all Hawkeye wanted was someone to talk to. Knowing his grandfather T'Challa would know what to do, the boy picked him up and carried him back to the compound. Honestly, this is kinda sad. Sure, if I were that kid I'd feel bad, but no way you could ever pay me enough to pick that thing up. Honestly, I'm burying it back under those rocks and never going there ever again. We then see the castle located in the middle of the city, which the remaining people have now called New Wakanda. Here T'Challa, who is now an old man, rules over what is left with his wife and several other mutants such as the former X-Men Forge. While most of these years have been a peaceful rule, we see that trouble has begun to brew as a young radical group of mutants called the Acolytes saw T'Challa as too weak to rule and wished to overthrow him. Claiming that he would not be here forever, T'Challa proposed that it may be time for him to step down. That is until a cured, but still very zombie wasp entered the room and claimed that it did not have to be that way, for one bite from her could make him live forever. But he'd be a zombie. This proposal, though, was quickly shot down by Black Panther's wife. Atta girl. See, boys, our wives always got our backs. They'll never let us become immortal zombies, even if we wanted to. Before they could get too deep into Game of Thrones political discourse, the young Kashamba presented his newfound pal to the throne room. Absolutely mortified at this discovery, the men told the kiddo to place the creepy dead Archer Man's head down so they could figure out just what to do with it. We then briefly cut back to our cannibal boys and girls road trip as we see them feasting on the gooey fleshy remains of none other than this world's version of Ego the Living Planet. Rest in peace, Kurt Russell. Back on Earth, we see that T'Challa had brought Hawkeye's head to the new Wakandan head scientist Reynolds, where they placed it in one of Wasp's previous robot bodies. Later on, we then see the leader of the radical mutant group mentioned before, who went by the name of Malcolm Cortez. The insane and most likely racist leader then allied his fellow seemingly racist incel army to organize an assassination attempt on Black Panther's life. One of the men armed with a knife had managed to sneak into T'Challa's bedchamber where he stabbed the king as he slept. Being instantly awoken by the surprise attack, Panther fought back only to have his stomach sliced open as he was still dazed and wounded in the dark. Alerted of all the noise, Wasp burst into the room and zapped the attacker with her blast as she tended to the mortally wounded Wakandan king. Knowing that the man had mere seconds to live, Wasp resorted to the only option she could think of, which was to bite the man square on the neck, infecting him with the virus. Just like an addict going back to a substance, Wasp's hunger returned, where she went to consume T'Challa's wife, only for the newly zombified warrior to slam her into the wall, telling her to leave his queen alone. Knowing that they had to eat someone, the pair got resourceful and ate the would-be assassin instead. Honestly, bro, good riddance. Nobody does that to Black Panther and lives to tell the tale. Horrified at what he had become, Panther locked he and Wasp in the Wakandan vaults so they could fast until their hunger disappeared. After spending some quality time in isolation, the hero's hunger vanished, Panther was finally given some band-aids to cover up his leaky gut, and they went to confront Cortez for trying to unalive their beloved ruler. Before any justice could be served though, the gang was oh so rudely interrupted by the zombie Cosmic Avengers, who arrived just in the hellish nick of time. Delighted to see so many human snacks were still alive, the zombies announced their plans, only for Hulk to get sick of all the chit-chat and went right to work on as many survivors as he could get his hands on. He was promptly stopped by Giant Man, who told the big boy to cool it, otherwise they would be right back to where they started. He then proposed to the team that they could take advantage of these remaining people by turning them into a human breeding program, creating an unlimited food source for their unending zombie appetites. Being too evil, even for him, Spider-Man's morality kicked back in, where he blasted off part of Giant Man's head and tried to talk some sense into him. Noble as Spidey's speech was, though, it was not enough to change the hungry man's mind, and it caused mass infighting amongst the zombie heroes. Taking advantage of the distraction, Panther and Wasp got the remaining humans to safety back in the castle, while they projected an impenetrable shield around it, locking out the hostile undead. However, the aim of the shield was not exactly perfect, as a still very hungry zombie gladiator was trapped inside with Panther and the rest. It also cut off poor Luke Cage's legs. Hey man, at least now you have an excuse to skip leg day. This then resulted in a gruesome battle that resulted in Panther getting his heart ripped out and Spider-Man getting his arm torn out of socket. While it would seem like our heroes were doomed, they were soon saved by the X-Men Forge in a repurposed Iron Man suit, who beat the living snot out of Gladiator's face while he held him in a headlock until Spidey and Cage used their cosmic powers to pop his head like a purple pimple. Knowing that there was no way through the shield, the remaining zombies decided to go back to their initial plan, which was getting the multiverse machine back from Reed Richards' Baxter building. Upon arrival, things would seem quiet, that is until they were swarmed by the building's sentry bots, which had been mysteriously turned back on. This is revealed to have been the work of Forge, who had taken the portal years ago and had actually had it at New Wakanda this whole time. As brilliant as he was though, for some reason he could not get the machine to work. Knowing that the zombies would return after they discovered they were duped, the heroes prepared for war. With the team being outnumbered, Reynolds revealed to the boys that he and Forge had a secret weapon that may just be able to help. While secret weapons are normally cool and awesome, this one wasn't so cool or awesome, as it was revealed to be a zombified body of T'Challa's dead son, where they had implanted the brain of Colonel America, who was killed by Red Skull years ago. No amount of family therapy is fixing this one. Infuriated at what they did to his boy, Panther attacked Reynolds for hiding this from him, only to be ruthlessly beaten by this Frankenstein Captain America. T'Challa pleaded for his son to recognize him, but it was no use, as his body was only a mere shell for the remains of Colonel America's zombie brains. Before Frankencap could kill T'Challa, he was stopped by Spider-Man, Luke Cage, and Reynolds, who got the guy to calm down and realized that they were all on the same side. Forge went to help T'Challa, only for the guy to wallop him right in the face for desecrating his son's body. Attaboy, T'Challa. Honestly, best zombie in this whole series is Black Panther. Rallying their group, T'Challa and the other heroes met their zombie foes at the shield, who were not too happy at being tricked by Forge from before. Being the Kenobi-level negotiator he was, the Wakandan king told the zombies that they could have access to the portal if they left the survivors in the palace alone. With a great turn of events, Giant Man and the rest showed more civility than ever, where they actually agreed to these terms. Instructing Reynolds to lower the shield, this then ended up being a double cross by Panther, who had the shield placed back up all around them outside the castle so they could duel to the death and keep everyone inside safe. As we know from before though, Reynolds' aim with the shield was not exactly the best, as Zombie Iron Man was right outside when the thing went up, allowing him an all-you-can-eat access inside the castle, while the other undead went to full-on war with each other. Stark's luck would run out though, for he quickly realized he came to the wrong neighborhood, where he was greeted by Frankencap, Forge, and a whole group of racist powered-up mutants. You know, I never thought I'd want to see Iron Man get trashed by racists, but here we are. The battle outside and inside would go from bad to worse though, as T'Challa would be smashed to pieces, Wasp would have her head clapped off her body, and a thought to be sedated zombie Bruce Banner would awake and go after Reynolds, where he would mistakenly lower the shield again, allowing all of the undead inside. Delighted to get some post-combat snacks, the Avengers rushed to where the survivors were being held. Ripping their way through the door, Giant Man went to dine, only to realize that something was terribly wrong. In a crazy plot twist, the zombies, like T'Challa, Wasp, and Spider-Man, realized that their hunger too had faded. Coming back to their old selves, the zombies felt immense remorse for the mass genocide they had caused for the past 40 years. Attempting to make amends, things would quickly be cut short though, as Zombie Hulk burst through the wall, ready to help himself to a big ol' bowl of human chili. The Avengers tried to hold the big guy back and stop him, but it only made the hungry Hulk hungrier and angrier as he began brutally slaughtering the likes of Jean Grey, Hawkeye, Firebird, and poor Tony Stark, whose heart he crushed like it was an anthill. Demanding for the carnage to stop, Reynolds offered himself as sacrifice to the unstoppable Mad Giant. Gladly taking Bro up on this DoorDash offer, Hulk tore into the guy, only to quickly realize that his hunger too was now gone. This then caused him to turn back into Bruce Banner, where he pleaded with the heroes to end him so he could not hurt anyone else. The boys immediately obliged, where they popped the guy's head, resulting in a quick and honestly disturbing end for the Incredible Hulk. After the battle, the heroes cleaned up the devastation and held a funeral in honor of the souls that their fallen friends once were. Later on, they made their way to the teleporter, which Forge and Malcolm had somehow managed to fix so they could go to other worlds and get supplies to help rebuild this world that they had destroyed. Not all was as it seemed though, as this whole rescue mission was all a plan set up by Malcolm, where he revealed that the only reason the machine was not working before was because he had stolen key components from it long ago. He then told T'Challa that he was the one who had organized the death of his son those many years ago, and would soon have his grandson Kashamba killed as well, so there would be no lineage of the Black Panther left. Before the team could react, he teleported them to worlds unknown so he could have the throne of New Wakanda all for himself. Horrified at what he had just witnessed, Forge tried to get the heroes back, only for Malcolm to beat the old man to death with his bare hands, screaming that the zombies were someone else's problem. Man, I never wanted to see someone get eaten by a zombie as bad as this guy. And that is the full gory story of Marvel Zombies Chapter 2. This was a crazy tale, and is honestly one of my personal favorites, for it was one of my first major stories to introduce me to Black Panther when I was younger. It had about as much gore and political intrigue as a season of Game of Thrones, and honestly, what more could you ask for? While I seriously doubt the upcoming Marvel Zombies show could handle this insane of a story with this many moving characters, I am still super excited for it regardless. More than anything, I would love to know what you think. Have you read Marvel Zombies 2? Is there something I missed? What other story should we cover? Sound off in the comments. Also be sure to give this video a like if you enjoyed today's content, subscribe to the channel, and tap the bell icon to be notified of all of our latest videos. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the music in this video, it was all made by my boy Ognihs. You can check out his Spotify in the link below. You can also check out our Discord, also in the link below. Thank you so much for watching. Remember, you are awesome and loved. God bless, and I will see you in the next one.